Purpose, if you like, of putting together the outputs, or at least some of the outputs of the discussion we had this morning in plenary and yesterday in the fruitful workshops, and see what is going on already in terms of research and innovation initiatives, particularly at the European level, but also more broadly, and see from the experiences of our panelists who are involved in one or the other of those initiatives, to address those two questions. One is how much the issue of the links, interconnections, interfaces between inland and marine waters have been addressed in the initiatives they are involved in and they will be present. What gaps eventually remains, and whether they have, whether they are taking up some messages from this conference to eventually fill those gaps. And the second question is, based on their experiences, how much is already being done in terms of EuroMed cooperation on those common challenges? If there is already such cooperation, how can this be made even stronger and more effective? If it is not yet so strongly addressed in those initiatives, is this something to be considered with regard to the topics that we are discussing here and in relation to those initiatives? The idea, of course, is simply that the discussions here will be hopefully inputs for a number of different initiatives. The conference is not intended to invent a new program, to invent a new, completely new initiative. Of course, if there would be strong gaps identified in what we have now, then the question becomes, can we find synergies to fill those gaps among the different initiatives, or have others? But let's start with what we have, because as it was mentioned yesterday in several cases, the Mediterranean is actually a region quite dense of initiatives, but often quite fragmented, not speaking with each other, or not transmitting enough of their results to further initiatives or to further efforts. So the idea is, if we want to go ahead in a useful way, in a way which is advancing knowledge and also advancing the use of knowledge for policy making, including involving stakeholders, as all the workshops concluded, then we need to have a good stock taking of what is going on to avoid to reinvent the wheel, as we say in Italian. So with this, I'll have the pleasure to start with Giuseppina Monacelli, who will tell us about the joint programming initiative on water challenges for a changing world. I will actually thank Giuseppina twice, because Giuseppina will also, as last speaker in that case, Dulcis in Fundo, speak on behalf of Angelo Riccaboni, who is the chair of the P.R.I.M.A initiative, the Partnership for Research and Innovation in the Mediterranean area, that was partly presented yesterday by Mr. Gigio Benedetti. And he cannot be with us because as a rector of the University of Siena, he had quite some urgency to deal with, which is basically the same that also prevented our Minister of Research and Education, should I stress, and Education, to be with us. So with this, Giuseppina, thank you very much. I asked all speakers to speak for maximum 10 minutes so that we can then have an interaction between the panelists and, of course, with all of you. Thank you,
To the organizers for inviting me to this event. That's an opportunity to present some of the initiative on water. The first of this is a JPI-Water. Is a very wide initiative and is one of the 10 joint programming initiatives that identify the relevant societal challenges. Just to present this kind of initiative is rather new in the framework of the European research area. The aim is to strengthen coordination and cooperation among EU member states and associated countries about themes representing urgent and far-reaching problems which could be better solved by joining efforts at European and international level. The Water JPI is harmonizing national research, development and innovation agendas and developing joint action projects, mobility and infrastructure in the water sector. As shown in the slide, there is a close cooperation and synergies among Water JPI and other research initiatives, in principle the Horizon 2020 framework program, but also with other initiatives not specifically on the research like the European Innovation Partnership on Water that was launched by the DG Environment in order to enforce the participation of stakeholders also. And here is the indication of our website. As ISPRA, we have the honor to manage the website of the initiative and to make the efforts on disseminating the information and the information on the activities. As I said, the initiative is quite wide in participation. Also, you see 19 partners plus one, and the plus one is indicating the participation of the European Commission that's also supporting this initiative, and he's member of the governing board. We have also 5 observers, and slowly the observers are joining as full partners in the initiative. Not all the partners are EU countries, but for the beginning we had the involvement of non-EU countries, and in particular 2 southern eastern Mediterranean countries are involved, Turkey and Israel. Water JPI aims to develop a new solution and the technology supporting the water sector in the global market. It is important, as I said, the initiative is named Water JPI, but the extensive title is Water Challenging in a Changing World. So with a global intention to highlight the solutions and both research solution and technological solution at EU level for export them in a global context toward new markets. 6 objectives following the vision document of the Water JPI were fixed for the beginning, involving water end users for active research development, innovation results uptake, attaining critical mass of research programs, reaching effective, sustainable coordination of the European water research development innovation, harmonizing national water research development innovation agendas and activities, and supporting European leadership in water science and technologies. This leadership was mapped and demonstrated in the first phase of this initiative that was launched among the partners in 2010, but definitively approved in 2013. And we're working soon on the vision document, so to find the common objectives, but also performing the mapping of the projects on water issues and the researchers dealing with these issues. And so we started with a very small but with well-identified themes, the 5 themes that I am showing here: maintaining ecosystem sustainability, developing a safe water system for citizens, promoting competitiveness in the water industry, implementing a water-wise bio-based economy, and closing the water cycle gap. These 5 themes are present in our first vision document, and we are maintaining them alive, but we are improving the detail respect to these themes, and we produce now 2 agendas. The first provisional that we called Point 5 was produced in 2013 in time to pass our indication to the Commission that was at time drafting the research program. And now we have the version 1 that we presented formally 2 weeks ago to the Commission and to the water community. This agenda is explaining better about the themes, but also indicating several sub-themes that we want to treat in our activities, coal, mobility, and infrastructures. And we produced also an implementation plan that we presented in the same occasion, used to present formally the agenda. This implementation plan is relative to 3 years, 2014, 2016, but we have a chrono program perfectly in line with Horizon 2020, and we intend to use all the time at disposal for this. Problem. One of the main activities is, in any case, launch common calls, and we launched the pilot call for proposal in the first part of 2013, and the first theme that we wanted to improve with the research project is emerging water contaminants, anthropogenic pollutants, and pathogens. And as I said, Water JPI is an intergovernmental initiative, and the pilot call is completely financed by the 11 member countries that funded the call, and the total budget at the disposal for implementing the 7 transnational collaborative research projects that worked successfully is about 9 million euros. Difficult task that to choose these 7 projects, because we received about 130 project proposals, and the most of them very interesting proposal for develop research innovation in the water sector. But we hope in the next the next call and the support the Commission will permit other calls also on this theme. The projects will start their activities at the beginning of 2015 and lasting for 3 years. The Commission is supporting us happily, and so in the first call of the Horizon 2020, in Societal Challenge 5, Climate Action, Environment, Resource Efficiency, and Raw Material, a call was dedicated to stepping up research and innovation cooperation in the water area, and the proposal of the water JPI is safely, and we are now in the phase of contracting the final detail with the Commission. The proposal was named Waterworks 2014, and the support of the Commission is in order to launch a call on water distribution and measurement, wastewater treatment and reuse, desalinization, flood and droughts. So you see a very, very wide range of themes, but now we will try to choose some of them in order to launch our calls. And a second EuroMed co-fund is envisaged for 2015. We are in the process of drafting our proposal, and we intend to name our proposal Waterworks 2015, and the issue that was indicated by the Commission is sustainable water use in agriculture to increase water use efficiency and reduce soil and water pollution. As I said, we are working in a close cooperation with other initiatives, and I said we have 10 JPIs, and so these issues is really to have in common with another JPI, that's FACE. So we started to contact the community of a FACE JPI in order to have a common call, and again to enlarge the communities and to enlarge the resources, also the financial resources. That's an important factor for the success of the initiatives. As I said, calls, but not only calls. This is the instrument. EuroMed co-fund is mainly on this instrument, but as Water JPI, we will implement the other activities, mobility and infrastructure, as I said, and the intention to enforce the international cooperation. As I said, the main aim is to explore the global market for European research and innovation technologies, and the short list has been produced in India, but an agreement is ongoing, and several initiatives. China, Brazil, United States, Canada, and Vietnam are in the list, and we have in-depth discussion with China and Brazil in particular. South Africa has decided to participate as funder in this first common call in Waterworks 14. So we are launching for the beginning of this international cooperation.
Thank you, Giuseppina. Okay, well, I drew from your last slide that the EuroMed cooperation is not that strong, apart from the fact that we have the participation of Israel and Turkey in the JPI, but that the discussion of today can inform further work on topics that are being addressed by the Water JPI on anything from ecosystem sustainability to closing water cycle gaps or others. But we have here Silvia Donato from the Environment Program who can eventually add or contribute to the discussion on this later on. We then move from the Joint Programming Initiative on water to the one on ocean, and this is Wendy Bonne, who will tell us how this initiative deals or doesn't with the interface between inland and marine waters, and whether and how much there is an EuroMed cooperation being developed or being considered.
Okay, thanks to the introduction from JPI-Water, I think I can go faster on why JPI-Oceans, because yesterday a lot of people also indicated, yeah, there are already so many organizations existing, so why another one? What is the JPI? But I can be very brief on that one. And as you see in the early mapping, the amount of funding that goes to marine and maritime research is quite substantial and comparable with what the United States has, but it is very fragmented among all the different countries. So one can think that, well, probably quite some fragmentation and duplication and overlap exist between the countries in that research. And so, as also was mentioned, a specific part is already internationally coordinated. It's about 12% for marine and maritime research, and all the other billions of euros are actually still in the pockets of the countries, and not very well coordinated in this field. So what we aim to do is to increase efficiency and effectiveness of the public research and development spending through cross-border collaboration, coordination, and integration. So that's what we are, a high-level strategic and intergovernmental process. So representatives from different ministries. It is still dominated by the research ministries, but there are also other ministries in the board sitting, and especially also for Italy, so that's a very good example. In the JPI-Oceans, we have currently 21 countries, plus their belonging outermost regions. And so for, oops, no, this is not the pen, yeah. So for the Mediterranean, we have, of course, here still a lack of some associated countries, but Croatia is also in the process of joining. Greece has recently also joined. So the main focus is still on here, with cooperation as well with Turkey. So 3 key aspects of the JPIs should be the long-term perspective. So of course we need to progress on project basis, but there needs to be a long-term perspective, a strategy behind those different projects. A high-level commitment, as I demonstrated earlier, by the participation to our board, and a voluntary basis. So each country can decide on its own if it's interested in a specific team or initiative or not, contribute with funds or not contribute with funds. And we have defined 3 specific goals for JPI-Oceans: enable the advent of a maritime economy, maximizing its value in a sustainable way; ensure good environmental status, so the link with the Marine Strategy Framework Directive; and optimize planning and activities in the marine space, so also linked to marine spatial planning and integrated coastal zone management; optimize the response to climate change; and mitigate human impact on the environment. As also mentioned by the previous speaker, joint programming does not just mean joint calls. And I'm going to give actually specifically on these issues also an example, just to illustrate you. So apart from joint calls, we devise some common research, innovation of infrastructure and monitoring strategies through common programs and joint calls. So that can be one of the tools that we use, but it's not definitely the only one. We also need to co-develop science policy mechanisms, share human capacity, data and infrastructures, and contribute to science policy making, also the one from the Commission on Horizon 2020, and also through institutional agreements, etc. So how we started to implement the JPI-Oceans was actually by launching some pilot actions. And to illustrate, to come in the operational phase, it needed to test out some modes of cooperation and demonstrate added value of JPI-Oceans. So just not copy-paste the mechanisms that existed already in the landscape. Still, we need to draw on existing capacities and resources, because we all know that this is a very limiting factor. So there is not going to be suddenly a big increase of fresh money. So we need to work intelligently, of course. And they can be implemented with a variable geometry. So some countries can join, others can stay out. And it does also not mean a commitment for new funding, but also contributions can take other forms. There are also a lot of institutional budgets that are spread among the different institutes, how they decide how to spend that money, mainly also on data management, their modeling, running, the maintenance of infrastructure. So we also need to look at those budgets that exist and how we can actually improve the cost efficiency also of that fragmentation of budgets. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. The first one is the newest one, a small pilot action that we launched, and that was in the framework of the European Water Framework Directive. And this actually shows how, when we do not start to do something in a harmonized way, that we may need to live with the consequences and put actually extra effort and resources to correct the situation a bit. So in the Water Framework Directive, all the countries could use their own methods or develop new methods to assess the ecological quality. And this has led to more than 140 different methods in Europe to assess the ecological quality of coastal and transitional waters. So this leads to a classification of the ecological status, which you can see here. And so the member states went already 2 cycles through this, trying to demonstrate to the European Commission that all those different methods that they were using could actually give a comparable assessment of the ecological quality. So they needed to prove, look, I want to use my own methods, but I still am sure that the result of this method is comparable to the result of another method. And for 2 cycles, they have been working on this, but mainly with some institutional budgets as well, but also with a voluntary leader. A specific member state had to take the lead on voluntary basis to make comparison analysis, etc. So this also happens in UNEP-MAP. You have different working groups, scientists who take a lead, etc. But they need to, of course, to foresee some time to do this as well. So what we try to do is we ask the member states, look, instead of trying to organize this on your own and with some contributions from different institutes, and with a voluntary leader that also has to face difficulties that are sometimes not expected. I mean, it's also scientifically quite challenging to do that. So we asked the member states, look, would it not be better just to foresee a little bit of budget, to put that in a common pot, and then that we can really contract a consortium, a scientific consortium, that will work out a solution, and we can facilitate that joint funding for you with a scientific solid basis. So that's what we did for this pilot action. So we tried to actually solve a problem that existed already for many years in a little bit different way of joint funding. And so this is actually another pilot action that we launched, and so that actually illustrates, okay, what if we now start to do it in a different way, and we first look at all the different methods that exist in relation to microplastics research, and we agree on a common way, we analyze, and we agree on a common way to execute the measurements, and then we start research. So that is the second example that I wanted to give. And so this was then developed together with funding agencies and specific scientists for that team to develop a scientific proposal which includes a call that will be launched at the end of this year, beginning next year. So this was just some examples that I wanted to give. So I hope I was short enough, sorry.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Another very interesting effort, clearly a very European effort. So you didn't tell us whether a Euro-Mediterranean expansion is being considered or not at all, but maybe this is not being considered, maybe this is why you didn't, if you want to add anything. And you gave us some examples where, well, you didn't say whether, for example, on these ecological aspects of microplastics, this means that there is some connection between the inland and the marine water, or whether it's only the plastic which is put directly in the marine water which is addressed. So there is a link. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, well, then we move to the next panelist, Durk Krol, from the WssTP, European Technology Platform on Water Sanitation, to give us, again, his experience, the experience of the platform, again, to speak of those two issues of the interlinkages and the EuroMed cooperation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for this opportunity to present WSTP here and to comment a bit from the perspective of WSTP how our example can, how our functioning can serve as an example for what you're trying to aspire, but also to see a bit what are within our activities or not, the links between inland and marine waters. So WSTP is a European technology and innovation platform. European technology platforms were initiated by the European Commission in 2004 with the objective of improving coordination and collaboration in RTD and innovation, which is particularly relevant, of course, for the water sector, as the water sector is so fragmented and diverse, but also to enhance the competitiveness of the European water sector. In this aspect, it's also important to signal that European technology platforms are expected to be industry-led, and also to contribute to solving societal challenges through research, technology development, and innovation. And for those of you who are still less familiar with the concept of societal challenges, this is European jargon to say the big policy challenges that the European Commission has identified, such as in our case, climate change, water scarcity, and drought. Different from many other European technology platforms is that we are a membership-based, membership-funded ETP. You will see with most other European technology platforms, for example, the one on sustainable chemistry, on the steel industry, textile industry, food sector, that they are basically a brand which is used by their European Trade Association when they communicate on issues around research and innovation. But in our case, as the water sector is not your typical sector but very fragmented, we have become our own legal entity with different categories of members, which I will show you in a second. European technology platforms, as I said, are typically recognized by the European Commission, so we also have to meet certain criteria imposed upon by the European Commission. And in this context also, openness and transparency is very important to us. So usually where we try to prepare policy positions, for example, we also, as much as possible, include perspectives which come from non-members. As with any European technology platform, we first had to draw up a vision, this was in 2006, on where we could be in 2030 as the European water sector, and then complemented that by 2 strategic research agendas, the first edition in 2007, and we're now working with the second edition, which dates from 2010. Further, we have one yearly major conference, which is Water Innovation Europe, which we held last time now in June, where we had more than 200 participants, and also from within WSTP, the Eureka cluster on water aqua has been initiated. Then a brief overview of our governance structure. So as I said, we have 5 membership colleges, we have multinational corporations, we have research institutes and academia, utilities, both public and private, then the suppliers, supply chain and SMEs, and lastly, the large industrial and agricultural water users. So here you will find, for example, Dow Chemical, Solvay, but also Copa-Cogeca representing the agriculture sector. Yeah. Then also we have what we call our member states mirror group. This is a group in which representatives of the national member states reflect on our activity and advise the board. And we also have associated members, which are usually regions. We've opened specifically this associated membership for regions, as we noticed that a lot of actors, both problem owners and solution providers in the water sector, have a very local nature. We would like to involve them. Sometimes it's very difficult to reach out to them from a European level, so we try, through our cooperation with regional authorities, to reach out to these local water actors. Here you see an overview of our current membership, both in terms of how many members per country, also the growth and the different colleges. As you can see, when WssTP was transformed into a legal entity in 2011, we did so with 11 founding members. And we have now 124 members. Over the last, I think, 3 years, we've been growing on average with at least 20 new members per year. Then the services to the members we provide are mostly, firstly, bringing actors together from all aspects of the water value chain. So as you've seen, we have members coming from industry, from utilities, from research institutes, from water using industry. So in our working groups, we all bring them together and they commonly discuss specific challenges for which they try to provide a solution or which they try to raise at the European level. Yeah? Then we further elaborate the state of R&D on specific topics in specific publications, which we use both as reference documents for our members, but also which we use to go to the Commission to say, Commission, you claim you want to fund research which is relevant for society or for industry. Here you have the priorities of society. Please try and include them as much as possible in your policy work and in the future calls for Horizon 2020, of course. Then we're also involved sometimes in pure policy work, so where certain dossiers are relevant for the water sector, we get involved. As in the European Parliament, we have been involved in securing a better place for water in Horizon 2020, but also in the regional funding programs. And in general, we are involved, I would say also in the European Parliament to raise the profile of the water issue, because I think that is very important. If we want to make sure that from a policy perspective, there is enough support to address water issues, which we signal, to make enough budget available, it is very important that we raise the profile of the water sector and the water issue. Then last but not least, I think we're also very active in what we call water value chain cooperation. I already mentioned that there are many different European technology platforms, in total 40. In many of these European technology platforms, water plays an important role. For example, the textile platform, the steel platform, the chemical platform, the food platform. So we closely collaborate with these platforms to address the water issues they have. And we also set up joint working groups with them to address these issues and to provide solutions for that. Then about our working groups, you already briefly saw on our organogram that we have quite a collection of working groups, which I will also show you in a second. These working groups are really the beating heart of the organization because they're all the members from these different perspectives, I would say, different countries, different geographical regions in Europe, but also different part of the water value chain. They come together, discuss the issues, and see if they can come up with solutions. One of the output of these working groups is always such a publication, as you can see here. In total, we have 14, but here you see an example of the publication on water reuse and one on membrane technologies for water applications. These publications, which usually are between 50 and 150 pages, really contain a status quo of what is the state of technology right now, what are the technological challenges, what are the barriers to innovation, and how can we address them. And again, these we use to engage with policymakers, but also as a reference document for our constituency. Here you can see an overview of our current working groups. In total, we have 16. So now I can answer the first question, which is the link between inland and marine waters. There is none, yeah, for the moment. This has also got to do with how our working groups are created. Our working groups can be created in two ways. Either as what happens usually as a bottom-up process, an initiative from members who want to work on an issue, signal this to the board, write a work plan which is then approved by the board, and then they can start, or a strategic analysis from our Innovation Technology Advisory Board, who advises the board on what issues we're missing. Yeah? For example, one issue we're now missing, according to me, is nanotechnology, so we will try to address that. But then they advise the board to create, to initiate a top-down process to create a new working group. Then my last slide, and I think that is also a very important slide because I already touched upon it. The water sector is very fragmented, and it's that fragmentation very often that makes us weak. Because again, if I see at the European level, average trade association, European trade association on a European level has 3 to 5 employees. Then when we go to the agricultural sector, which is the second biggest one, Koper-Guzeka, they have 49 employees, and then the biggest one, the chemical sector, they have 170 employees, yeah? Which shows the relative weakness of the water sector. But in, I would say, the trade association for the chemical sector, the whole chemical sector comes together. If we now look at a European level with regard to water, there are at least 8 different umbrella organizations who address different parts of the water issue. Yeah. So what we have tried to do with our partners on a European level is to increase also that collaboration, that coordination. I think we've been very successful there. Here you can see a picture of the signing of memorandum of understanding with some of these key partners on a European level, which we're collaborating now. Missing here is Euro, which is the European Association of Utilities on a European level. What we have done now, we have agreed that we will increase our collaboration, and as a first result, there has been that we have come up with a joint position paper of the whole water sector towards the new commission per DG, a one-pager per DG, what we consider as the 3 to 5 key priorities for each new commissioner for the next 5 years. Yeah? And we're also trying to do that coordination not only with other actors in the water sector, but also beyond, to make sure that water is represented as well as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk. So clearly focus here very strongly on the involvement of the industry and business sector, the issue of technological challenges and barriers or prospects for innovation. So as a transversal issue, this is something that has been addressed in some of the discussions here. While the straightforward answer to the question has been inland and marine water links addressed, the answer is not or not yet.
No,
but at least the
only link,
is there.
what I've missed to say, the only link I can make a bit is, as you may have seen, we have a working group on bathing water. So there you could say there is a beginning of a link. But, yeah.
Thank you. And the Euro-Mediterranean dimension is not there really, for the time being. It's very European.
It's very European. I would say right now the only country from which, the only non-EU country for the moment in which we have members is Israel.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we move to a quite diverse presentation. This is by, so you agreed with each other, so that the work of the chair is also to involve the stakeholders. So the 2 speakers here decided which sequence. So we'll have, again, Giuseppina, but this time to present the ongoing work on the P.R.I.M.A initiative. I asked Giuseppina, and I know it's very difficult to present somebody else's presentation, but to focus basically on the topics being addressed and the EuroMed dimension component of it without getting into technical or administrative details, so that we stick to those.
But again, it's a big opportunity for me to explain, because I am not embarrassed in presenting also this initiative, even if I am the Italian representative in Water JPI. But this is an integrated program of food system and the water resources for the development inclusive, sustainable, and healthy Euro-Mediterranean society. So I explain Water JPI is mainly to explore the global market, starting for the leadership in research and innovation technologies at the European level. This is instead to go to an initiative at the Euro-Mediterranean level. here it was a history, because the dialogue started years ago, and on some common recognized the criticalities, some severe impact of climate change, unsustainable exploitation of natural resources, scarcity, contamination, and overexploitation of water resources, losses in food supply and availability, urbanization, and change in lifestyle, so consequent diet-related disease. So the initiative is mainly on the challenges on food system and water resources, and important for Europeans and Med citizens. EuroMed cooperation, starting from 1982, I don't list all the initiatives, but you see a lot of events on enforcing the dialogue from the northern and the southern eastern countries. But the goal of these events were development of a common knowledge and the innovation space. The more recent ones are relative to the Barcelona Euro-Mediterranean Conference on Research and Innovation. And the conclusion of these events were toward an initiative under using the Article 185 of the European Treaty. And from that, several initiatives, the creation of an open-ended core group transformed done in a General Assembly that met for the last time just past Friday in Brussels, and then under the Greek presidencies, the informal meeting of the ministers that finally decided to improve a more quick information to the process. And so in September, the first document was presented to the Competence Council, but now probably there is another part of the presentation, but in any case, I'll return at the end of the presentation because there are new steps toward the final approval of this initiative. Not only events, not only workshops, but a lot of projects and to support this initiative. So you see InConnect initiative and in particular MedSpring, favoring the dialogue among scientists and stakeholders, and supporting with the concrete action the process toward the Article 185. And a lot of Aeronet, like Forestera, Remnet, Bernera, and so on. And we hope that in any case the process will be supported by other EU-funded projects. Again, this is an initiative that wants to be co-financed and co-designed. So differently from the EU-financed project, involve and mobilize the resources at the country level. And 2 pillars: food system and water resources, but a lot of activities that want to improve an integrated and multifaceted approach among these 2 pillars, and in particular to have energy, health, environment, and transport among the cross-cutting issues. The needs and constraints from the Commission relative to a clear definition of the objective and the commitments and the added value respect to the initiative that we are presenting also in this occasion, and to reach a critical mass for the appropriateness use of the Article 185. And so the people working on the initiative at the final reached a common vision on the nature of the problem, The sustainable production and provision of adequate quantity and quality of the food and the water in the Mediterranean area are seriously threatened by the erosion of natural capital, water scarcity, and climate change. This affects socio-economic conditions, well-being, and health of people living in the area, and the societal stability of the region and the whole European Union. And the goal is given to the problem to be tackled, challenges and drivers with a specific attention to the Mediterranean peculiarities. As I said, in other initiatives like Water JPI, the themes are taken on board at the global, European level, global level, with no intention to make specific regionalization. This is instead is devoted to the peculiarities and the specificities of the Mediterranean area on the two pillars. So it's a research, innovation, and adoption initiatives to develop innovative solutions and promote their adoption for improving the efficiency and the sustainability of food production and water provision in order to support an inclusive well-being and socio-economic development in the Mediterranean area within the framework of reinforced Euro-Mediterranean cooperation. And 8 specific objects were individuated to enhance knowledge and unlock its innovation potential for food security and water availability through and user-friendly solution in the context of ecological, demographic, and climate change, to advance existing knowledge and innovations for water and food quality and safety. As I said, operational objective, I'll explain this 8 objects, but without reading all the keywords, but it was essential for us to fix these keywords as the specific issues that we wanted to treat under the operational objectives that were defined. The first, to develop a smart and sustainable farming system to maintain natural capital and to increase production, to experiment and stimulate adoption of context-tailored water-saving solutions, in particular in agriculture, to innovate food products based on Mediterranean data heritage and to enhance the links between the nutrition and health. Just instead to pass soon to the slide, it was underlined at aquaculture, one of the questions of the Liberatore, in the sense that water resourcing are one of the 2 pillars, but aquaculture was intended to be treated because aquaculture is in common with inland and marine waters. The other objectives are to find the context-adapted solutions to increase the food and the water chain efficiency and reduce losses and wastes, to design and promote the adoption of novel approaches to reduce the impact of pests and pathogens in aqua farming, including their consequences on human health, to conceive and implement innovative, quality-oriented models in agrobusiness as potential resources of new jobs and economic growth, to improve land and water sustainability in arid and semi-arid watershed, to elaborate and stimulate adoption of new models for the governance of water management systems. So the European Commission asked to demonstrate the added value of this initiative with respect to other initiatives, and this added value has been relative to EU neighboring policy, cross-border and transnational networking, Mediterranean capacity building, training, mobility and research infrastructures, scientific diplomacy, added value to the EU food, agriculture and rural development policies. And again, the added value respect to the initiative, and some of them we presented during this event: JPI-Water, Oceans, AP-Water, JPI-FACH, and AP, Agricultural Productivity and Sustainability. I pass respect this slide on the appropriateness of an initiative under Article 185, but there are a lot of reasons for this, and some specific legal issues to implement, like a dedicated implementation structure. Some of the problems were solved, and for this specific of the structure, the Union for Mediterranean was in favor to have to host the structure of P.R.I.M.A with the clear rules for this operation. And so the both structures would stand as two autonomous but associated institutions, and this is a good opportunity for P.R.I.M.A to use an existent organization to host the structure. The governance, just to say that the General Assembly that was hosted in Brussels past Friday approved both the administrative and the scientific approach that was performed till now. And the contribution of participating states is on a voluntary basis, both in kind and in cash, and the Italian ministry asked for a formal commitment to the countries, and there was a really motivated agreement on this, and so till now there is a potential budget of 250 million euro in cash. Next steps, as I said, this General Assembly was successfully, and now the next step is the dissemination to partners of the final version of the joint program, and then the meeting of the competent council for his agreement on the proposal. And the idea is to launch the initiative under the Maltese presidencies in 2017, after all the formal process through the Commission and the EU Council and Parliament will finish.
Thank you. Thank you, Giuseppina. So now you heard more of the development of P.R.I.M.A that was mentioned yesterday in several occasions. So work in progress for something that will be formally presented as a proposal for the Commission to make a legislative proposal based on impact assessment, and if everything goes well in 2017 or later, this program. Anyhow, possibly one difference of this program from all the others is that it starts immediately as a EuroMed cooperation by a number of EU member states and a number of South Mediterranean partner countries. And in this financial envelope that was described, there is financial envelopes by both EU member states and Mediterranean partner countries. Now, the topic is quite large, as you saw. There is a focus with several links. And there are even some little links with the topics of this conference that Giuseppina identified and maybe come from the discussion. Now from this we move to Dulcis in Fundo. There is no slides presented, so if the light could be higher so that we see each other better and have no temptation to have a little nap, but be ready for debate. So Michael is asking more and more. So Michael, or Michael, how should I say? Michael Scoullos possibly doesn't need an introduction. I think it is very important that Michael is with us, not only because he's one of those historical living memories of EuroMed cooperation, including with the stakeholders that were mentioned by all 4 workshops as being very important, whatever this was eventually defined. And he will tell us about Horizon 2020, not Horizon 2020, our wonderful European Union framework research program on framework program on research and innovation that Christina presented, and several projects have been mentioned and calls and so on, but the predecessor, and still very much existing, other Horizon 2020, which is about the depollution of the Mediterranean Sea. So, Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
And you have those 2 questions to be possibly addressed.
I have 2 questions, and I have 20 minutes like all the other colleagues. So, thank you very much, and it's a great honor and pleasure to be here. Let me introduce very briefly Horizon 2020, the original one, which actually is not a scientific research program, is a political initiative at the highest level. It was introduced in 1995 as Euro-Mediterranean Partnership, the so-called Barcelona Declaration, not the Barcelona Convention, which is a UN, as you know, Secretariat and the UNEP-MAP, but the Barcelona Declaration. And in 2000, to cut the story short, in 2005, they decided to run this Horizon 2020 to depollute the Mediterranean as a small part of this initiative, because the initiative is to stabilize the Mediterranean, to create a common economic space. It's a very ambitious initiative, and it has a tiny part, which is almost tiny, the environmental part. So this part has 3 components. These 3 components are the why to depollute the Mediterranean while we had the Barcelona Convention and the rest, because they wanted to link this initiative with investment. So this is the key idea behind. So we had 3 components. One component is the component led by the European Investment Bank, which is to identify specific hotspots, and in these hotspots identify with the countries. Beneficiary countries are only the non-EU countries, all the non-EU countries. So from the beginning, this, I have to say, this is a EuroMed. It's not European, it's EuroMed. And not only EuroMed, but is the only program with a steering committee where the non-EU countries sit on equal footing and decide on equal footing with the EU countries. So the investment part is one. The second part is the monitoring. So what it was mentioned here has to take into account this initiative, which is for the expansion of SAIS, of the Shared Environmental Information System, to the rest of the Mediterranean. And in this respect, the Balkan countries are a little bit ahead because they have started working with the agency, the European Environment Agency, several years ago. And the third component is a capacity building component, a team leader of which I was till the day before yesterday, because this component was started on the 29th of October 2009, and this phase concluded, 5-year period, concluded just on the 29th of October this year. Now, where we are and what we have achieved. We are, in our component, we are extremely happy because all what we have promised or put in the program, we managed to deliver with a 10% more, at least, of what we have planned. So we managed to finish with, first of all, we had an inception phase where we met, myself and the deputy team leader who comes from Egypt, Dr. Adli, we met 500 people in the countries, either individuals or in groups, in order to have a demand-driven program. So we didn't impose something. The only guidance we had was 3 areas: solid waste, wastewater, industrial pollution, and an horizontal one, which was integration of sustainable development concerns into other policies. So we went to the countries, we asked the countries, the ministries, the civil society, the business, what they wanted. Out of about 300 proposals, we decided to run for 150, for 100, and we reached 133 already. So we managed to have 133 activities. In 70% I was there, so it was a very tiring exercise. And a big consortium, institutional consortium, where UNEP-MAP was one of the actors. UNESCO IHE in Delft was another. The coordination was the University of Athens, from where I come, which is a very big university, more than 100,000 students, 600 premises, 5 hospitals, 5 museums, 2 botanical gardens, like a city. So we have to deal with complex and big systems. In this respect, we finalized, as I said, 133 workshops, study visits to other countries to see water treatment plants, new technologies. It was not only water, as I said, it is solid waste as well, and industrial pollution. More than 3,500 trainees we had in these years, and about 400 trainers. Several of these trainers came from academia without any payment. They were in addition to the consortium because of our connections with all of you, and we tried in this way to make some input also from research. But it is far from having a successful, let's say, integration of all the research we've heard here into this. So this is one of the key areas. Coming to the interface, yes, indeed. Again, it was not in the heading, but we managed, and we managed with extremely positive and tangible results. First of all, we had together other programs and colleagues like SWIM, supported from the European Union, or the JEF-Med partnership, run under UNEP-MAP, where we had at least 15 of the workshops on IWRM synergy, so integrated water resources management with integrated coastal zone management, but not research, implementation. And I give you the most successful example of that is the Lake Bizerte, where the Lake Bizerte is in Tunisia, an area with about 200 industries in a small lagoon, a big lagoon, but a restricted area. We started with the feasibility study, which was financed from the European Investment Bank, the MESI program. All the research known there was used, and the plan was presented to the partners, to the stakeholders. I conducted the dialogues, and we ended with the charter of Bizerte, which was presented also to donors. After that, we had in the Union for the Mediterranean labeling of this area for the projects, and the first investment already made there for actually treating different industrial and industries, 2 sewage treatment plants, and many other things. So actively doing something on the interface. A few days ago, I visited the area and we had another participatory, a big meeting again with all stakeholders, the ministers. This charter was signed by all ministries and all stakeholders, big industries, big polluters like iron and steel mills, like cement factories, fisheries, aquacultures, and all the rest, tourists. Now, and we had the meeting for the monitoring of this, 1 year monitoring of the results. We need a lot more, actually, from this community here to help, not so much in monitoring, also in monitoring the progress, but also in feeding, you know, because there are many questions. We have another lake of great importance that is connected with that, and we wish to restore and upgrade the environment there, not just to manage. I come to, I don't mention more, but although we didn't have a research budget, we approached in a practical way also the industrial pollution. I give you only one example. Using my own students' research, not paid from the program, it's not worthy, or from any other EU program, we managed to have a very thorough research about the iron and steel industry. There is no logic to talk about industrial or enterprise sector. This is not one sector. You cannot bring together iron and steel mills and olive oil presses or, you know, cheese and yogurt, you know. Yeah, I can. So we made under this program a listing of all the iron and steel mills in a distance of 50 kilometers from the coastline. We assessed all the pollutants theoretically based on their consumption of water and energy, and in each one of these, the technology used. We want to have other colleagues and a project as continuation, because this kind of projects are needed in order to see what are the needed investments also, and make a calculation that is presented to donors. So this kind of research, we have similar ideas coming out of the project that need a follow-up. Unfortunately, there is not, even now, we don't know what the follow-up will be of our project. The ministers all together in May decided for the continuation of the project and recommended particularly this capacity building component as exemplary. But still, there is discussion if and how, what will be the continuation. From the design we had, there was a provision for a research input, but this was not actually active, not activated. And this needs to be in the new phase much more, much stronger, because at least a small percentage of what has been presented here, if this can be integrated in the policy design and implementation, because it is so closely linked with investment, we may make the difference. We have to remember that the funding is a very long process. From the 120 projects initially identified, 88 were in the list and the funds preliminary have been secured, but until now only 4 are in the pipeline because of lengthy preparations of the feasibility study, pre-feasibility study, and all other things. So we have to keep in mind also this. Just 3 days ago, we had in Athens a major conference on, Dr. Hamdi was there, and perhaps a few other, on governance and financing of the water sector. And it's so complex issue because even here, sometimes the reference to decision makers is very linear. Who are the decision makers? Are not the parliamentarians, the Euro-parliamentarians. As we have the policies today, the European policies guide the national policies. So at which level we are talking about? Which are the decision makers in business? Are the managers or the members of the board? The same is even in many in NGO and other. This very linear approach that is just an an addition to everything is like putting a little bit of pepper around. I think we need to be a little bit, if we want to learn from our lessons, we have to be a little bit more sophisticated there. I finish. The other question is about need for future in the region. Out of the 80 billion, I don't know if there is earmarked something for the Mediterranean. It's not, as far as I know. But here is a community that needs a follow-up and a clear, actually, signal. And I think that this might be extremely useful even as a message, even if we wait for the response. That is very important. I think that we have the capacity, we have the willingness, we have the mechanisms under the Union for the Mediterranean and this horizon where the steering committee is in the hands of all the countries of the region. Only in Syria we didn't manage to work because of the problems, and in Libya. Libya is getting now in. And the prospects are there. I think we need a smaller, perhaps, group under your guidance where the big projects that are independently developed might find a synergy. I don't know how, but this is not a platform of the type presented. Is a kind of a platform for decision-making about future orientation. And this is perhaps something you may think and you may elaborate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Actually, as Michael was saying, research is not part of the core activities of Horizon 2020, depollution of the Mediterranean Sea, but we are discussing just now the fact that there is a research agenda being discussed in that context. And in that context, my understanding is that the current thinking is that the first thing is not to try to do new research in that Horizon 2020 program, because we have quite a lot going on, either done in the 7th framework program or being called in Horizon 2020, the big 80 million research program and innovation, plus the other initiatives. So clearly there is a space for a better utilization of research, which is funded anyhow under the European program, possibly also by other programs, also by programs, national programs in the countries of the South Mediterranean.
In the Horizon,
with the context
just to clarify, in the Horizon, the European Investment Bank gives us alone the 50%. So the countries come with the other 50%, countries or other donors. So this is absolutely essential to understand that we are talking about an active partnership economically also.
Sure. And I think you were also describing the fact that several times you did manage to use research a little bit with the, the PhD, the research of some universities that would basically provide it for free and so on, very much on a demand-based, project-based. So the point is how to link research which is done eventually with case studies and research which is needed with projects. But I think I need now to ask whether, because we are conscious of time and because it was so interesting, each of the presentation, they were a bit longer. So I would suggest to have a little question and answers from the floor, and any of the panelists can be addressed. They can also address each other. And I suggest that we spend at least 10 minutes like this, and then we'll resume for the final conclusion. By being conclusion are final, anyhow, with Enrico also will need to leave. So anyone who would like to address a comment or a question to any of the panelists? Silvia and Susanna and the gentleman over there. So we have 3 for the time being.
Thanks.
If you can introduce yourself when you speak.
So I'm Silvia Donato from European Commission, Research and Innovation, but from the Environment Directorate, which now is called Climate Action Resource Efficiency. I took now the floor since I was mentioned in the discussion, and I felt I could say something just to complement what has been said. Maybe I will start with the last point. It was very interesting, in fact, to hear that there is this willingness to gather the knowledge that exists already in FP7, as Angela said. We had experience that were directly relevant to the Horizon 2020 initiative on the depollution of Mediterranean, including with partners from the non-EU Mediterranean countries. I think this is a point that was mentioned this morning by Cristina Russo when she was referring to the fact that the experience with the Mediterranean countries is also in what now we call the societal challenges, so not specifically in the international cooperation labeled activities, but it comes from a different kind of trend, which is a sort of bottom-up, if you want, so from the researchers themselves, from countries that find these synergies around certain topics and certain fields. And I think this is a relevant lesson for many of the things we discussed during these 2 days, using and knowing better what is being done by researchers in other fields. Now, an important, I think, message that has been sent, and that was also coming out from this panel, was the reducing fragmentation, which is exactly the purpose of JPIs, the technology platform. And I think we had, in fact, example of that. And even the synergies between the different initiatives, such as in the case for the JPI-Water and the water technology platform that we know exist and that we hope will continue. But I believe that from our perspective is definitely a very important signal, that of opening the JPI to international partners. I know better the one on water, so I cannot maybe say for the other, but definitely for the experience that is being carried out in the context of JPI-Water. Maybe what Ms. Monacelli did not have the time to go into the details is that in the strategic agenda there is a reference somehow to the Mediterranean region. So the very few references that are to international partners in the strategic agenda of the JPI-Water are in fact on the Mediterranean. So I think that there is an interest also to broadening up to those partners. And also more in general, if I just may say, in addition to the call that she mentioned for 2015 that will focus on the water use in agriculture, in Horizon 2020 there are also already existing opportunities that may be relevant for the region. And in fact for 2015, under a specific heading on strengthening research and innovation cooperation in the field of water, there will be also action targeting specifically water supply sanitation technology, systems and tools and methodologies, associated with water supply sanitation and transboundary water management issues and integrated water resource management, including in the field of sustainable agriculture, food security, targeting non-EU Mediterranean countries and on Africa with a budget of 15 million. So this is something already on the table, ready for next year, that it's very much in line with the things that have been discussed now. Thanks.
Thank you. Susanna, the lady here.
I have a small question.
Can you introduce
First,
yourself?
yeah.
Can you introduce yourself, Susanna?
Yeah, my name is Susan Khalif. I am from Egypt, from National Institute of Oceanography and Fisheries. I would like, I think Angela we spoke about many about the initiatives arising by Professor Scoullos. Please, if you don't mind to insert this initiative, this last initiative, to think about something like platform, like common ground to clustering our effort of Euro-Mediterranean we spoke today at the morning. This first one. Second one for Durk. Would like to, I know that your platform is for EU countries, but I am regularly updated by your activities. I would like to ask if the availability to including some partner, or at least a PhD student or scientist in the workshop and activities of this platform in the terms of enhance the capacity building or transfer of state of the art of another country, or lesson learned from your from this important platform of the water, this one. And the last one for P.R.I.M.A, because I have little knowledge of this program, but you presented the name of project like MOCO, like BILAT, like many, but I see this at the political project by means at ministry level. My question is it available to participate as an organization or institution level or not? Because as we are scientists, as unusual or usually not updated with activities of ministry, just titles, but that the activities or the result or the feedback of those projects, we not updated of all these activities. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. There is a gentleman here who also wanted to take the floor.
Yeah, I'm Manuel Valiente from Barcelona University, still in Spain. And I would like to make some very general comment, which is in the system we are moving, the people sitting here, where we launch, the programs of the EU together with our partners in the Mediterranean. So this means that we put effort, not only to accomplish for a good proposal, but also to select the appropriate consortium. So we make this way, which is the appropriate one. And when successfully we get approved the project, we develop the project, we get some deliverables. Some of them, you see, good. Some of them not probably the best level, but we deliver, something which is in some cases has been quoted and has been very satisfactory for both, the people who has been participating and the people who has been receiving, this knowledge. This is a good experience, but has a weak point, which is everybody knows that when the project finishes, there is no a clear way of which is going to be next. Means that all the benefit that this type of experience is delivering is not making what is one of the real purpose of our effort, and especially, you see, now in the Horizon 22, is to give a benefit for society. And this is something that is experienced in many cases, and it could be interesting to, let's say, take into account this situation, which is well known, and to go a step ahead. What does it mean? It means that we don't need to invent the wheel. This is already invented, and it will be good, I mean, to include in the line of Horizon 2020 that the project that is going to be having these goals in any of the programs, it should be ending up with some specific action, like, let's say, in the form of startup or in the form of transfer to the society, the activity, because we know very well that in any of the sectors that we can work, if there is no any application behind, that means to build a kind of business, it could be finishing, you see, very, very soon. So, I mean, I just would like to take into account this, because this could be, I mean, an important point to squeeze the efforts, that it's not only the financing effort, but also the human efforts that has put into these actions.
Thank you. Well, for the panelists, now starting with Durk.
For Susanna, I think with regard to the fact that we are a European technology platform, you should interpret European as in the interest of Europe. And I clearly think addressing problems, I would say, in the Mediterranean basin is in the interest of Europe, so there should be no problem. Yeah? And in addition, with regard to our membership colleges, we have a number of membership colleges, so if a member fits in there, it should be placed there. If it does not fit, for example, a regulator, a regional authority or whatever, they always fit into associated member, because everybody who cannot be a member can be an associated member, so that's easily covered. And associated membership is based on MOUs. So we draft up an MOU, define win-win situations for that associated membership, and then we can proceed. Yeah?
Thank you. I think that was a clear answer and a clear question and a clear answer. So thank you very much, Durk. Michael, from your side, and
a little bit on one of the things I wanted to mention is that the future horizons need to work closer. And the Horizon 2020 to depollute the Mediterranean brings many of the, some of the scopes that we identified of the capacity building, and we need also to take this into account. At the same time, Horizon 2020 depollute the Mediterranean finances, promotes the use of non-conventional water resources, while a number of questions have not been resolved. So I think that there is a priority there in order not to go, despite the fact that, of course, we have excellent knowledge about membranes and the rest. There are, in our session yesterday, we have identified at least 10 areas with nanoparticles, with pharmaceuticals, with several things that need to be urgently addressed, because we have two policies: promotion, at the same time some lack of knowledge or gray knowledge somewhere. The second thing is also with the issue of ecosystem approach and the interaction with integrated coastal zone management, integrated coastal water management. I am actually concluding, with the support of P.R.I.M.A and UNESCO, a book that is coming out soon on this exactly, the interaction ICZM, IWRM and ecosystem approach. We have to make a clear distinction. There are areas in the coast where we need to address the fit for purpose approach. approach. That means heavily industrial areas, you don't take them to the good environmental status because you don't need it. You have another industry there. So there are a number of points that have not been heard here that are very basic, and we need to have actually a little bit more on that. We need to discuss a little bit more, and this is also an issue of research. And the final is the general education. Through the Horizon, we managed to have the Mediterranean strategy for education for sustainable development. I'm going to present it in the closing of the decade, UNESCO decade of ESD in Nagoya in the coming days. It is a unique opportunity also for the universities because it addresses from the kindergarten to high. So we need to, at least the people who are here, to use this because we are talking about the whole institute approach there, where the management actually makes the institutions, our institutions, open laboratories and demonstration and pilot cases about management. We need to use that. I may say many more, but I don't have the time. I see you.
Thank you. I'm very conscious that our co-chair needs to leave very soon, so we need to leave. Well, there was a question actually addressed directly to Giuseppina, which is the role of universities and research institutions in P.R.I.M.A.
Quickly, one about what the JPI is, again. What the JPI is intergovernmental initiative open to all the countries, but if we use the European Commission instrument like the funds for the calls, we had to use the EU rights, so not open to all the countries if they are not funding on their own our financial resources. And again, water resources as global challenge, and so toward the global market, even if the countries are on southern Mediterranean area. And again about the choice to avoid regionalization and to leave this to the European initiatives, so to the Horizon 2020 calls. About the P.R.I.M.A, at political level, yes, the discussion of the application, implementation of the Article 185 is a very long process, and person is about 4 years that I am hearing about this initiative, but the discussion was on the themes, a long consultation, and finally I think that the 2 pillars, water resources and food, are fixed and approved from all the countries. But in this last phase of the process, a lot of experts, and I among them, were involved in the process just to define better the themes and sub-themes, but as other document and the process, I said, is still long enough till the launch, eventual launch, but we hope it, of the initiative. There is room for other experts to join and to define better the initiative from the technical and the scientific point of view.
Thank you. And then, of course, if this would be launched, universities, industries, and the other research actors would be involved in actually the activities that would be launched. If Wendy, do you have anything short, final comments to make?
Well, I can still add that I observed from the panel here that we all have slightly different networks, slightly different experience. One is focused on a bit integration. Durk left. Industry, etc. So a common issue is also knowledge management, and that's something that we need to do together. I mean, even if we have our different focuses, I think we absolutely need to define with these different organizations, the JPIs, the Commission, and the private-public partnership governance aspects, a better common strategy on knowledge management and timeline management of projects as well. we try to do that with our pilot actions to illustrate to the people, like, this is where we started, this is what we have now, and where it should lead to in the future. And on the research funding, so we are both research funders as well as the Commission. I think it's not only about research funding and seeing that the scientists keep on having their jobs and flow into innovation and serving society, but we also should not absolutely forget the institutional importance, so that we don't only focus on the research funding, but that we also, with all the directors in our boards, keep on paying attention on how can we better organize with the institutional efforts that are in Europe. So.
Thank you, Wendy. With this important common cross-cutting issues, I'll give the floor to Enrico for our conclusions.
Oh, thank you. I think it was a very stimulating roundtable, and all the conference was actually for me very, very interesting. I think that if I just give you a couple of comments and a couple of messages. I think that one of the most important objective of this conference in our mind is the cooperation, the EuroMed cooperation. And the EuroMed cooperation requires still, I mean, quite a lot of effort, because we have a research community which is already working, but we need also to expand the cooperation at the policy level, industrial level, economic level. So I think that we should send a clear message to all of the actors from this conference. I mean, that there is a community willing to cooperate between the European and non-European level, non-European countries. We have strong opportunities, I mean, offered by Horizon 20, the program Horizon 2020 in the next coming years, with the next calls and so on, that we can apply and we can take opportunity from this. There are other instruments like JPI's cooperation and so far, and we also hope and we strongly push, because the Article 185 and the P.R.I.M.A initiative will come up to a success. But we still need, I think, to work at the level of a European research agenda to launch a strategic agenda for research and innovation, such that research, science and innovation will be at the service of the economic growth of the overall Mediterranean area. And to do this, I mean, we still need to build up quite a little. I mean, we learned in the morning, I mean, about, for instance, research infrastructures, and our research infrastructure, different research infrastructure from the EuroGoose, the Ocean Observing System, LifeWatch, and the very different infrastructure can help building this EuroMed area. Now we have a very different north-south gradient in the distribution of this research infrastructure. We have to fill up this gap. Because this is, of course, creating a very different situation about knowing data, observing system, and so on, about the ocean, the inland waters, and so on. So we have really to try to fill up this gap, building a EuroMed infrastructure, and this can be partly probably offered by Horizon 2020, but we also need to send a message to the policy makers, not only European, but also of the non-European countries. So I think that all of these, I mean, can help in creating the good environmental status, can help in, for instance, in managing fisheries and having an ecosystem-based management and so forth. So I think the two levels, science and policy and industry and stakeholders, should go together, and so we have to fill up all of this gap, and we have to send a clear message from this conference to all those different communities. Coming up to what we need to do, in my opinion, I mean, we need from each of the workshop, I mean, a summary which was already, I mean, presented in the morning session. but we need probably a small document of 2-3 pages, no more, for each workshop that we can use for the final report with additional eventually attachments with wider documents. And then we need in the next couple of weeks, I mean, to work strongly on a report that we should send to all of this community. That said, I stop here, and I would like just to finish thanking lots of people, actually. First of all, I would like to thank Angela because she did a lot of work, actually. She was not just the funder from the European Commission. To thank all the colleagues from my department, starting from Margherita Cappelletto, but all the people who helped actually in organizing this conference, and also all the scientists from CNR and non-CNR who actually did most of the job, I mean, contributing to the scientific committee and contributing in building up the program, and also leading all the workshops and rapporteurs and so on. It's difficult for me to cite some name because except of those who were very actively and mostly interacting. I mean, I see all of you, I mean, sitting there, but many people has already left, and so I would like to thank everybody, to thanking also the keynote speakers in the morning and everybody. I think that this conference was up to now a partial success. Is up to us, I mean, to fill up, I mean, these couple of weeks or more work, I mean, to do a full success and to send a clear message. Thank you very much.